Please understand, never confuse. Some people use materials and methods. You see, that is a subtle difference. You should understand. I should not say it's subtle, it is a great difference. Material is a homogeneous one type of sample. Materials means different types of samples, and when it comes different types of samples, then you have different types of procedures as well. Sometimes in environmental research, you should be able to sample air, water, and soil, three media of environment. Then the procedure also differs. The procedure what is used for air will not be the same for water, So you should be very careful. When you write publications, generally we use that word materials and methods. One S is added, plural is added. Why? Because it is not the single material or single type of material that we use in research generally. We use many types of material, so we should call it as materials. Methods. Never ever confuse with this. Plural when should you use and singular when you should use. Generally in social research, we don't use materials, but we use methods. So in social research, your heading should be material and methods. In scientific research, if you use many materials, then materials and methods. Generally, methods will be more in number. So yes will be always common. But in material itself is plural thing, you should understand. But if you use different materials, you should use that word materials. You see, there is a subtle difference here. In English also is a funny language, but it is always important because many foreigners tend to, evaluate our thesis. So we have to be objective. We have to be international in coinage of words and also the learning of meaning of words. When we say people and peoples, can you say the difference? Anybody, please attempt. What is the difference between people and peoples? Both are plurals. Please remember, people itself is plural. Peoples itself is plural again. Now there is a difference, or is it the same? Can somebody attempt?
People is people of one particular type, like people of India we say. But when we refer to different origins of people, like we say Mongoloids, we say Africans, we say Indians. When in such cases we use people, sir. That is what I.
Very good, man. 100 marks. 100 marks. Exactly, you have to hit the point. It is always, see, we use the word water and waters. What does waters mean? Waters mean it is water of Pacific Ocean, water of Bay of Bengal, water of Arabian Sea, water of any. That means the complete geography or the hydrosphere, we call it as waters. And at the same time, we use the word water. Water means whatever that we use. If it is Kaveri river water, then it is, we have to say only Kaveri river water. You cannot use Kaveri river waters because it is single source. But Kaveri mixed with Narmada, Kaveri mixed with Ganga, then it becomes waters. What you told is 100% correct. So we use the word people, we use different races like Caucasoid, Hispanic, Negroid, Mongoloid. These are the only 4 races in human beings, right? So peoples means always mix of these races, mix of these types. In other words, peoples always connote international origin, all world's origin, whereas people means only Indian people who are Asian in origin, right? So you should remember, because we should not confuse with this and we should not intermix with this. We should purposely use these words, meaning, and so that, internationally we are not misunderstood. So extremely important. Same analogy applies to materials and methods. Material and method, right? Materials means different kinds of materials. When you use in your research, you should say materials.
It's like, sir, I mean, adding diversity to that word, right?
Pardon?
When we add S, so it's like we are adding diversity to that particular variable.
Exactly, sir. Exact. Diversity is the key word. Correct. What you told is correct. We are adding diversity when we use yes. We are homogeneity when we say always material.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
100% you're right, sir. It is well understood. Many people do not, differentiate this. People will, excuse you, but that is not appropriate. When we know, we should know the things, logic behind using the words, because when somebody else evaluate our thesis, they go into such details very well.
Diversity in sampling is the requirement, and
Diversity sampling comes to the domain of methods.
right.
Sample comes in the domain of material. Sample is that physical material, sir. So let me give you an example. Let us take one small example. Let us spend some time so that this concept becomes very concrete. Otherwise, this chapter I can cover in just 10 minutes. Now, let us say sample is soil. Sampling is quartet method of sampling. That means I adopt a quartet sampling procedure to sample soil. That is what is. So the question now is here, material is soil, quartet method is, or quartet procedure is the method. Now what is this? Suppose if you want to describe, this is what is exactly. See, once having differentiated material and methods, we should be able to, give the same picture for the reader. When you describe this material method chapter, either in your thesis or when you're doing your work, you should be able to reflect in such a manner, nuances should be told in such a manner that the other person will not do any mistake, by reading your article, by reading your procedure. Now, what is this? Let us talk about this quartet method of method, so that, as an example, you will understand. Now, I want to sample the soil. I go to the field. I earmark, I put a margin, a square, rectangle, or some irregular shape. I delineate. That becomes the sampling area. For example, 1 acre could be the sampling area. Acre has always delineation. In other words, 30-40 sites. Site means site is delineated. That means I will do the sampling in that particular delineated area. That is what is first is delineation. So you will have to tell what is the dimension of delineation when you sample when you take the sample, a soil sample. So is it an hectare? Is it an acre? Is it a 30-40? Is it 10 by 10? That is to be described. Else, the person who reads will not understand where did you sample. It may be soil sampling, you have explained beautifully, but you have not delineated the limitation. So in material methods, the ground rule is that it is not you describing, it is somebody else following you and getting the same steps as you have done. That is the philosophy in describing material methods. So now after delineating the area, now you have to sample, because area is too big. Even if it is 10 by 10, sample is quite a complex material. In 10 by 10 itself, or 10 foot by 10 foot itself, the soils can vary, the soil particles can vary. So that is the reason why sampling procedures are prescribed. Now, what is sampling procedure? The philosophy of sampling is representativeness. That means we can't take the entirety of this 10 by 10 sample for our work. We will have to take a sample of it and then generalize it, right? So how much we should take in this 10 by 10 becomes very critical. That description comes in the method. Now, generally, when we do soil sampling, especially 500 grams is a convention that we sample. Now, 500 grams in 10 by 10, where to pick it up? That is extremely, we have to be very cautious. Where to pick up? In some corner, I can go and pick up 1 kg, half it, and then it becomes 500. Is it the correct method? No. It is the correct method is you will have to describe the representativeness and the cognition of representativeness that you adopted in the procedure. That is why a delineation of method is described. Now, what is this quartet method that you used in sampling? This square, that is 10 by 10 square, is divided into 4 divisions, 4 squares. So 1 square can always be divided into 4 squares, is it not? So when you divide it into 4 squares, either by horizontally or vertically, vertically also, if you traverse 2 opposite joint points in a cross way, X way, the compartments will be 4 only. In a horizontally, you have it 10, that is 5 foot by 5 foot becomes a one quarter, right? So that is 25 square foot becomes 1 quarter, 50 square foot becomes half quarter, half of the selection, and like that, 4 quarters you made, and in each quarter you select about, say, 5 kgs of sample at different points in that quarter that you have selected. So that why at different points? Because we would like to represent, we would like to have a heterogeneous yet a homogeneous mixture. That means representing all the spots of the 10 by 10 and making a heap. So start with 5 kgs. So in 4 quarters, if you take at different points, it has become 20 kgs and put as a heap. And then that heap, you make it half, again quarter, and mix the opposite quarters so that, mixing becomes extremely, the content gets mixed up. That means all the areas are represented, and go on doing this quartered sampling till you get 500 grams. From 20 grams, you can convert, finally select 500 grams with a thorough mix of all the particles representing all the areas of that particular 10 by 10. Is it understood? Are you getting the principle behind this? Somebody please respond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what I am describing is, see, this is physical soil sampling. Like that, description when you do, you should not misguide the people, because please understand, you will be the only source for your juniors, because they will refer your thesis. Like we are referring some article or publication of somebody else, you are doing a great service if you describe all the steps in logical order so that you are not misguiding your juniors. That should be the philosophy in material methods, and that should be the complete got a ground rule in following research methodology, because that adds on what is called objectivity and removes subjectivity approach in research work. Objectivity is what is the intent and almost should be the even content of the research itself. So material now connotes to the sample, physical sample, and method is the sampling procedure. In generally parlance, I don't go into the depth because they are all very simple. You please read through that sample and sampling chapter in Kothari book that I have given you. It's very simple, but 1 or 2 small procedures we will, which are very general, and majority of the people use this technique. 1 or 2 methods, let us just understand, just for the sake of understanding sampling. Now, sampling is for the first and the foremost sampling, be it social or scientific research. We use what is called simple random sampling. Now, the major question in simple random sampling is whether when we use the word random, is it scientific? Yes, it is 100% scientific, because random means representation, getting the possibility of each population getting selected. That is the connotation meaning of the word random, because bias has got to be eliminated. That is the reason why we use the word. So never ever feel by using random sampling you are unscientific. Random sampling is always highly scientific method. Now, simple random sampling is the basic step or basic sampling procedure that everybody adopt. Now, if you want to understand simple random sampling, it's very simple. It is like lottery. In lottery, you have the same kind of dice, same kind of paper rolls, same size, so that you can mix up the dice or the paper rolls, so that number of samples, howsoever you want, you can pick it up and then open and see what is that particular number. So in sampling, the number is important, the randomness is important, and the bias removal, 100% quantitative bias removal is important. These 3 criteria governs what is called simple random sampling technique, right? So it is a lottery method. There are charts, there are tables available, ready-made tables. Suppose you want to select 500 or 50 samples out of 5 million human beings, it is possible. The softwares are now available. You will have to put how many, what is the denominator, what is how much sample you have to take. It will give a random generation and then give you the numbers so that you can follow those numbers very strictly. And before that, the population has got to be numbered. When you number the population, you can pick up later on by using simple random technique. Simple random technique is highly scientific, basic sampling technique, because this technique used in say next method, a higher method called stratified random sampling. In stratified random sampling, separate strata is taken, separate cross sections are taken. For example, if you want to yes.
1 second, sir. Is the slides moving, sir? I mean,
No. It is not moving. I am deliberately talking because I have not covered sampling in my slides. That is why I am talking, because these are all very fundamental. So you're just recapitulating. It's like a revision. Not that you all do not know it, but then it becomes a prelude, because when we say material, sample has got to be described.
Okay. Thank you.
So stratified random sampling is you take a class or a homogeneous group of the material and then apply simple random sampling to that homogeneous group and then take that as the sample for your investigation. Stratified random sampling, cluster random sampling. You have, these are all basic sampling techniques that we use in both scientific research as well as human beings or population research. Suppose you want to have a cross section of teachers, okay, teachers of primary, teachers of secondary, teachers of higher education, teachers of postgraduate teachers, graduate teachers. They become a cohort, they become a class, they become a cluster, they become a strata. So you can have any number of strata and put the n number, that is number of sample that you should take, apply simple random sampling, then you have arrived at the right sample for your investigation or administration of further tests. Now, most important that all of you should remember in sample and sampling is use the specialized trained skill of your statistician. Although you can sample yourself, it is always good that you get an endorsement that it is the right sample, both in number and as well as quality and quantity, and get a confirmation from the statistician, because he or she is well trained in that statistical procedures. Unless in many projects, especially when you write research proposals, unless a statistician's endorsement is given, it is not, your sample selection is not valid. So my dear friends, please consult the statistician just to get an endorsement that what you have taken a sample and what you have adopted the procedure sampling is the right, correct method, because finally for this select sample only you adopt tests, statistical tests. So it is now that you should befriend, you should identify, you should consult a statistician. He or she will guide through the selection of sample and also for the methods of tests that you have to adopt when we discuss that in results and discussion chapter. Because 3 kinds of tests are possible once you do the experiment. That is the descriptive, correlational and inferential types of statistical tests. For your sample and for your findings, you will have to adopt, you will have to apply those tests. So it becomes mandatory for you to get an acknowledgement, endorsement by the statistician that your sample is okay, both in number as well as quality, right? So it is important. So statistical procedures, when you are adopting, it is good that you get a second opinion or an expert trained opinion from the statistician, especially when you select material. Now with this introduction, let us run through the material. Please observe this slide. It is very, very important. The whole philosophy of complete material and methods are embedded in this particular picture. You can see there are there is an investigator doing work. There are certain reagents which are prepared from chemicals. There are certain instruments where these chemicals are subjected for tests. There are certain standard solutions that are prepared. There are certain storage units that are available. There are store and also holders, and there are certain basic instruments and also end instruments. Please understand, all that errors that we do in experiments are possible with anywhere in this particular, whenever we use any of these materials, both in selection, quality, and also preparation of the reagents. So in science research, it is extremely important how a chemical becomes a material of sampling and material of use and material of starting material where we use and then get some observations. It is rather easy when we say chemical because the guiding principle, as I told you, if you say a standard measuring flask, you should be able to tell the quality of the glass that apparatus that is made of. To that fineness and nuance you should be able to describe, because the glass itself is of several types. There will be soda glass, there will be Corning glass, there will be optical glass, there will be cobalt glass, there are many types, brown glass, white glass, silica glass, borosilicate glass, which glass you have used, because that particular quality, that glass that you have used has an effect on the reagent that you have prepared, and which has an effect on the procedure that you have adopted, and which is an effect on the sample that you have selected and treated. So it is important in describing material methods, all these subtle points. 70 to 80% of people do not describe this, and that is why the papers are not accepted. And in the class of glass also, A, B, C, 3 types of glass certificates are there. If it is a measuring equipment, for example, test tube is not a measuring equipment, whereas measuring flask or a volumetric flask is a measuring equipment. In measuring equipment, always certification would be there because calibration would have been done. If it is 100 ml of measuring cylinder flask that you used, the glass type of glass you should describe, the amount of reagent that you have used should be described, and also the type of glass. Is it the Corning glass? Is it the soda glass? Is it the amber colored glass that you used? And also the class type you should use. Is it class A, class B, class C? Class A means, this particular 100 ml, once it is put, it is 100 ml at 25 degrees centigrade at sea level. That calibration would have been done. You see, that's all understood. So we forget to explain that I used class A Corning glass 100 ml means that sentence describes that you have used a Corning glass A type with a certificate. Certificate is always printed when the glass supplier gives you that printed certificate, also he will give you. Like that, you should be able to give complete details when you describe the materials. Now coming to the chemical that you have used. Chemicals also, are of different types. Say, for example, in this particular case I am talking is potassium dichromate, primary standard. Now, when we say primary, that has a meaning. Primary means always it does not have to be compared with something else. That itself is a standard by itself. It is having certain qualities, like it is not hygroscopic in nature. The quality is doubly assured. It is guaranteed reagent, ANALA reagent. It is not pure or commercial reagent. So when you say primary standard, it is understood that it is made of primary thing and there is no need of comparison. Whereas if you use sodium hydroxide cannot be a primary standard, because by nature sodium hydroxide absorbs the moisture, so you cannot weigh sodium hydroxide in balance. Whereas potassium dichromate is a primary standard because by nature they are crystals. The crystals means definitive shape. They do not have the property of absorption of water. They can be weighed in single pan balance up to after decimal 8 digits. So that much accuracy is possible in primary standards. So when you prepare reagent, you should be able to decipher these small descriptions of what is that. Did you use primary standard? If you use primary standard, with water you use, is it mineralized water? Is it distilled water? Is it potassium permanganate distilled water? Is it carbon dioxide free water? Is it, we should be able, because water itself of different nature. So in material methods, it is not just the constitution of the reagent. I have prepared potassium dichromate solution. If you write sentence, it is totally confusing. So you should be able to tell potassium dichromate, which grade, is it annular, is it guaranteed, is it pure, is it commercial? These 4 or 5 types are there. For this, if you want exact chemical to be identified, there is a shortcut method, what is called chemical abstract number. That chemical abstract service number, CAS number. If you say potassium dichromate CAS number 5204, then you have guided the person in very well, because 5204 means it is a fixed reagent that is available. Anybody can purchase 5204 and use that reagent. So chemical abstract service number has got to be mentioned. If you mention that number, all that I have described, it is annular, it is crystalline form, it is primary standard, all these things are understood. So if you are not giving these details, the person who is following you can mistake and can use a different grade and end up in different kind of observations, which is not correct. So material means, if it is a chemical, so many details you should give. Then when you constitute the reagent, the room temperature becomes extremely important, because in the world, the room temperature can vary from 0 degrees at some Iceland to around 35 to 40 degrees, even 42 degrees in Raichur, right? So room temperature vary very much. When the room temperature varies, the physical constants vary very much. So you should be able to tell at what room temperature you constituted the reagent, what water you used as a solvent, all those things. Guide as much as possible, so that you are very explicit, you are very methodical, you are very scientific. That is appreciated, and more appreciation comes when the same result is obtained by different person using your procedure that you have followed. So that is the grading principle in material. Now coming to the equipments that you follow. When you describe an equipment, see, when you prepare reagent, you will use it in the experiment, and then you observe certain things. And in the experiment, you use some kind of what is called basic equipments like pH meter, like for example, conductivity meter, for example, for a spectrophotometer, for example, voltameter, ammeter. Now, when you describe which equipment that you used, you should be able to tell exactly the range of the sensitivity, accuracy of that particular equipment. For example, if you use a colorimeter or a spectrophotometer, we should be able to tell that I used a UV visible spectrophotometer with 1 nanometer grating substance wavelength. See, that means because that you are prescribing the resolution or the sensitivity of the equipment as well, so that the person who follows will use the same thing and get the same result. Sometimes it is always good if you can measure, give the model and make model number and make of that particular equipment, so that all the description is not needed. He or she can lay hands on that particular model and use the same equipment. So it is important to divulge or to give as much explicit information as possible, as much realistic information as possible, and as much true reflection of the repeatability in question, keeping in mind you should be able to describe the material, the equipment, the method also extremely important. If it is an original method, you can say Beer-Lambert's law, or you can say quartet method. You can say this particular technique I have used. If it is having a particular name, if it is having a name and then you have little modified, then tell the modification, what you did and why you did it. So in material methods, these are the points that you should remember. In especially chemicals, there is one, please refer this so that you get the complete horoscope of that particular chemical, and that is called MSDS. Now, what is that MSDS? Material Safety Data Sheet. For example, for all the chemicals that are manufactured, we'll have this MSDS data sheets. They are the I should say constitution, or they are the basic information giving data sheets. These data sheets will have about 16 sections under which the everything, all detail, including the batch size, the raw material, the person who manufactured, the process that is adopted for manufacture is specified in these MSDS data sheets. So you can tell this MSDS is always like chemical abstract service number. It will give you all the physical, chemical, physicochemical characteristics of the chemical that you are going to use, right? So MSDS should be specified, CAS should be specified, so that, and the procedure of reagent preparation should be specified, the make of the equipment should be specified, the range in which you use should be specified, the electricity or the whether you used a supplementary thing, for example, for sophisticated equipments, end equipments, like say for RT-PCR, you will have to use, and the spike buster quality also you should be able to tell, because in that homogeneous, uninterrupted quality electricity, you conducted the experiment, so you should be able to realistically tell what you did, so that you are guiding your junior to a full extent and seeing that he or she is not making an error. So that is the depth in which you should be able to describe material method chapter. Now I will run through the things. Please, now it is easy for you to understand. Allow the reader, others to envision that what was done, to repeat the procedures if needed. That is actually the meaning, intent of all research. It is not that we are ending with our equipment for the first time and the last time. It is likely to be repeated by myself at a different point in time, and also many others at different point in times. That is the philosophy. The difference between trivial and critical details may depend upon the goals of the study. It is always good for you to be elaborate, more critical in nature rather than being trivial, because some people can excuse you, some people will cash upon that, and if they want to put you down, they can use that for you to suffer. So let us not give chances for anybody to comment. Let us be more critical and also elaborate as much as possible, so that we are in a better position, we can defend our results. What is trivial for one study may be essential for the other. Date, time, place, type, net, boat, when you use the sampling of water, all those things become, never ever consider this is trivial information I should not give. It is better you make your notes and keep it as elaborate as possible, because that working documents are very, very important in research, so that you can always be confidently tell which day you have sampled, which boat you have used, what is that spot you have sampled in a river or a lake that you have collected the sample. All that things, make it a diary or a journal. Never ever ignore any detail. That is my content or intention in telling this and taking so much of time to explain it to you. Subsections are useful, like how you collected the sample, how you organized. Did you, subsection, for example, if you want to collect water sample, there must be some agency who is taking care of that particular lake. Did you write a letter? Even that you need not mention in the thesis, but you should have in your hand notes, so that when some question, some examiner asks you, this is the procedure I had an access to this particular lake at point because I have obtained permission, official permission, and taken the sample. Like when you conduct clinical trials, informed consent becomes extremely important. Ethical issues will come up, right? All those things also you should be cognizant and take care, and have a complete defense and make notes of it, so that it is documented and kept with you. Regarding chemical substances, I have explained. Regarding reagent preparation, I have explained. Even proprietary, who prepared, which batch you prepared, extremely, extremely important. Very, very important. See, I will tell you my own experience of the detail in which the Europeans, you see, I'm just narrating my personal experience here. I was very hungry. I frequently visit Sweden. I was very hungry and visited a shop, and then I was a vegetarian. So I wanted something pure vegetarian to be, purchased. So I saw in that shop a chapati like of a thing, a roll in which something is stuffed inside, and a coat was something like our chapati. So I showed this is the material that I want, but I want only the outer covering, not the inside material. I asked that storekeeper, who was vending that, it was a lady. Can I get only the cover? Is it possible? I don't want the content. I want only the cover. The lady became so scared when I asked the question that what is the content inside. You see, this really happened, and I remembered it so vividly. She was so scared. She brought a chair and put me to sit down. I sat down, and she called the manager, that is immediate boss, and asked that this gentleman wants only the cover, and he is doubting what is inside this particular content. So he wants only the thing. Can we give? She consulted, and the manager came and asked, what is the intent of asking only the cover? Why you are not eating the stuffing thing? Then I told, I am a vegetarian. I am from India. I am not used to meat eating. Possibly, I guess the stuffing is a meat there. So that is the reason why I doubted. I want only the cover. I thought the cover will not have any kind of meat or egg. Then he got confused and he got scared, and he called the semi-proprietor. You see, a small incident like this, how much care and how much details they were giving me. So they called that semi-proprietor and told that this gentleman wants only the cover, and he is doubting that meat is inside, and whether cover he is vegetarian or not, he would like to know. Then that gentleman came with a small book. Book had about 25 pages, and that 25 pages described the wheat or the refined procedure that has gone into the method of manufacture of that particular cover, because he wanted to refer whether there is an egg in it, whether there is an egg component in the particular formation of the dough. See, can you understand? I mean, are you appreciating what I am trying to tell you? A small detail. They are maintaining a book of 25 pages, giving the document where that wheat was grown, how it was processed, who is the supplier, what is the batch number of that particular commodity chapati. My hunger went off. When I was simply awestruck with the details that shop has kept. And this is exactly what we need. That is how they maintain the quality. They maintain their brand value. They maintain the transparency. Just citing an example, a personal example, not at all an exaggeration. It is an happened thing. When they take care of so much for the customer, that is the reason why, things become so nice, so clear, so likable when we are convinced that what we are eating is real, that what we wish to eat. That is exactly the psychological component that should go when you describe materials and methods. You should be very careful and give complete details so that the reader and also the person who want to follow will be so much happy with your description. Similarly, experimental animals, plants, if it is a plant, generic name, where it is available, is there a variant, different species look same. Product is, say for example, one particular, a pea plant or a groundnut plant can so much vary genetically, is it not? So what is that species name? Which is that area that you collected? Which is that soil type that you have collected? If you give details, it is always good. Microorganisms, animals, experimental animals, gender, in social research, the gender, the race, the age, the city, the country, the location, and also the informed consent, ethical issues that you have covered. All those things become extremely important in deciphering in material manufacture. Please refer MSDS. You can go to this website, especially if you are using a chemical. You will give the complete 16 sections are available, like starts with the phone number of the manufacturer, the address of the proprietor, the batch size, batch number, all that sections, all the quality, the if it is spilled, what you should, that is safety details. If it falls on the skin, what you should do. If it is inhaled, what you should do. All that things is described. 16 sections for a single chemical, right? So you please expand your knowledge by reading all these things, so that you will appreciate, and you also become more detailed in nature. As much detailed as you are, so much accurate and so much integral and so much confidence that you get in your work and also exposition as a presenter, right? Coming to methods, it is like SOP here. SOP is standard operating procedure. Steps should be told. Steps have got to be numbered. Which number, which step, what is the procedure in each step. Even if you want to describe making of coffee, you should be able to tell which coffee seeds, what is that coffee seeds, how much temperature you used it for, frying, brewing, what water you used, when did. So you can write at least 1 page in steps, the making of coffee itself. Never ever get complacent and think I am giving very minor details. No, in research there is nothing minor or major, because minor can be very well appreciated and very crucial for different kinds of users later on, of scientific research that you have done. So user point of view, we should always describe methods. So SOPs, standard operating procedures, the type of the type of equipment for the stove, the temperature, the thermometer that you have used, the make, all those things becomes extremely crucial. If it is a location, give GPS so that coordinates are fixed. Nobody will mistake. The people will go exactly the point to the point where you sampled, and you're helping them. So coordinates have to be given. Locations have to be very well told. And if it is using a Netgear transport vehicles, and if you are using subsidiary equipments like pick and axe and scissors and other things, all those things become extremely important. So this is the actual almost the end of method chapter. The design becomes important. The design is how the points that you cover in sampling, material and methods. So that itself is a small pro forma. You will yourself make a pro forma and fill up everything so that you will not miss any step. Subjects and participants in social research, instruments that you have used, procedure that you have adopted, procedure or procedures that you have adopted. And always when you write your thesis, your sentences have got to be past tense, just for the reason that what has been done, you are describing. It is not what you are going to do that you describe. What you have done only is being described. That means it's always a past work that you are reporting. So report is always a past occurred or past experience that you are going to vividly explain. So it has got to be in past tense. Reproducible results, sufficient details. I have adequately told about the importance of detailing, written in past tense, and also sequence. Sequence is extremely important in procedure. You can never mix up the sequence. Please understand, this is like a algorithm. Algorithm means what should be done first, second, third. In the third, what is subsection A? In the subsection A, what is the subsection? That way it should go, it should run. So if you sequence becomes extremely important. If you jump a sequence, then you are confusing yourself. You do not know, you are not sure, and you are more confusing your junior. So that is the philosophy. So please be careful in describing. The real reason for rejection of your articles is, you see, more than 30% of the rejection reasons is because of you are not detailing in the material methods what is to be detailed. They are confused. Editor could not understand. Peer reviewer could not understand. So help them to understand so that you detail well and become successful. Okay. Material statistical evaluations are later impending, so you consult now itself when you sample. I have described about this, and we have talked about that. That is a small discussion on what I should say, material and methods, because action research starts with material methods. So when you have finished the experiment, when you have finished the investigation in the field, you would be having a sea of observations, a complete gamut of what is called, I should say, data points. And data points are observations, data points are population of the complete observations jumbled up. They may not be having order, these data you have got, several million points, million observations. So data points are always in numerals, averages, or I should say number would be there, right? All these numbers now, complete findings, observations are converted into numbers, and these numbers have got to be in a kind of treated, and that treatment is called statistical treatment, which we will discuss little later. But you have got observations because out of some treatment, following some procedure, and this chapter, especially results chapter, will simply tell how you arrived at that numbers, how you got those numbers, how do you got those findings. That's all. You are not interpreting any of the finding. See, this is the mistake many of you do. When you get a result, suddenly you know why it has come, but you want to tell the reason. If there is no reasoning of what you got, there is no scope for reasoning in the results chapter. You cannot reason. You have to concentrate only what you got. This is a ground rule in deciphering results. Results means it is always tables, numbers, organized. Table means organized data. Data organized. From data you can get a graph, chart, pie diagram, picture, XY diagram, scale, all those things you can mention. That is, you are ordering or you are grouping to get something else. You are just treating the findings, but you are not discussing the findings. Discussion or interpretation will come later. In results, in fact, the smallest chapter in your thesis is results, because you may do 100 experiments, but you will never get kind of 100-page results, right? Data will be very huge. It is a sea of data, but you will have to treat them, and what results you get is only the findings. You will tell the treatment in detail, not the emergence of that results or not that interpretation of the results. Never ever confuse the reader then and there what got in the result chapter. In the results, it is only the depiction of data, depiction of order of the data. The description will follow, but in results, never describe, never comment, never give why you got that. All those scope is not possible in results. That is the description for results. Results is only how you treat it, what observations you got, organize that observations into some kind of presentable things which are acceptable, which are conventional. See, another personal experience I would like to tell here. Even today I have not got the answer, so I had to construct an answer for it. When I was teaching this in Germany, research methodology, a German student, a young lad, he asked me that results have got to be, the findings that you get have got to be tabulated. So you have to construct tables. Then he got up and told, "Sir, please tell me what is the meaning of the table? Why you are using the word furniture in results? Table is a furniture. How that furniture is relevant for your data?" This was $1 million question, I should say. Even today, I don't have the reason. What is the meaning of the table? Why should we use the word table for results? Why not a bed? Why not a chair? Why not a another piece of like almirah? They're all furniture only. Why are you not using those furniture? This man, with so much of noise and so much of straightforwardness, asked this question. So it was a matter of about 16 sessions. I told immediately I do not know the answer, but then conventionally it is table. There is a reason for that, which I do not know at this point in time. I will learn and let you know. The person was satisfied. Oh, fair enough, sir. No, we will understand, but I am just having a curiosity, not any other thing, not to test your knowledge. I am asking, why do you use the word table? What is the meaning of connotation of the table? That's all he asked. But that gave me a life lesson to learn. Yeah, whenever we use the word, we should know the meaning of the word. That is what he taught me. That even today, I don't know why we should use the word table, right? There is one book which I am going to share you later on called Doing Science, which describes different types of tables. What type of tables we should use in our research, it elaborately tells. I'm going to give you at the end of the course, right? So that is a beautiful book. Even in that book, never ever they have described why the word table they have used. I asked my guide. He also threw up his hands. It is just a convention. Table means there's an organized way of having the data. That's all. That I could tell instantaneously that this is organization of data. But why the word table you should use? That reason even today I have not got it. So I had to tell even after at the 13th or 14th session to that particular boy, Ahran Base, my dear boy, this table is perhaps I did not get the answer in script and literature, but I will be able to describe my own interpretation of this word table. You see, table means always a rectangle standing on four legs, and it is stable. Table is always stable, right? It is not rocky. So you cannot use easy chair. You cannot use rocky things. That is not possible. So table is something established, something having stable, right? That means your data is something established, something you have found, something you are concrete, something you are solid, something you are convinced yourself. That is the connotation. Then he was little agreeing. Oh, fine, sir. That is nice. Then afterwards, I told, you see, table is always, though stands on four legs, table is always having a top on which you work, and table will have a side drawers in which you keep the things. And in the drawers, it will always be an array, like, spread Excel sheet will have an X and Y axis, houses, is it not? So it is like why do we make houses in a XY chart? We make houses because data is jumbled up. We want to select some homogeneous data in this one and put it in that particular box. So table serves that, keeping the jumbled up things in an orderly fashion, so that you can pick a pin, you can pick a pen. You know where you have kept, because pin has a place, pen has a place. So that is the philosophy of organization. If you build a new house, first you should say where you want to keep your key so that you can retrieve it. Why we should use that word table? Because it is stable, storehouse, retrievable, safe. These are all the intended things. Perhaps I do not know. I don't have reference for this. Perhaps that is the reason why you can store it, you can play with it later. It is safe, it is retrievable, and it is organized. It is organized. That is the reason why perhaps we use the word table for organizing the data. I had to wriggle out construction of my own interpretation of the word table, right? So it is interesting for us when we talk of results. Stick to results. Never describe. Don't go into what we what. Although we are tempted to describe, we should refrain from description. Results means only results, only findings, only organization, only treatment, and depiction or presentation of that particular result. Now, discussion is totally what we have presented, what we have kept, what we have stored, what is our meaning of it, why did we get it, what's the rationale. So this is where creativity comes in discussion. The scientist's creativity emerges, right? So let us discuss about discussion a little later. The word discussion connotes at this point in time, please understand the word discuss means in brackets win-win. There are two parties, both the parties win. In argument, one will lose, the other one will win. In discussion, both will win. Now, who are the parties in discussion? The scientists who have done the experiment and the reader who reads that particular finding. There are two parties there. And both parties should get the same kind of winning experience once, it is deciphered, described. That is the meaning or the intent of the word using discussion. Discussion is always win-win condition. End result should be win-win. So please understand at this point in time this, so that it becomes easy when we describe what is that discussion little later on. Results is confining only to discuss the emergence of findings, organization of findings, stitching of them into plots, pictures, figures, photographs, all those things. Discussion means interpretation of the self. That is the person who has done, who got this one, he gets the prime role to discuss, right? To tell what he has made out of that particular bunch of results he got. So with this discussion, let us cover the slides now. What is the result section? What it does? What is included? What's the purpose of discussion? Function, interpretation, do's and don'ts. Results, what does this section comprise of? What should be the body and ingredients of these results? Results represent the central, significant, notable, derived, please understand the word derived, not raw, derived, that is treated observations and findings and of an experimental or of an experiment or a study. Here study includes the survey. Survey is with respect to social, study is with respect to science. So survey also is a study only, but it is applicable to population or a social societal research. Obtained from the several methods followed to gather and analyze the information. Present findings in a logical sequence without bias and interpretation. I think we have covered all these things. So results, the big purpose of results is to break down the observation points into sentences that show its significance, why we are depicting it, why we are presenting it. Portion of it we are highlighting and describing in discussion chapter, but presenting in the result chapter. Answers the basic question, what did you find in your research? Please understand, whenever we get a find from the first is the observation, that is data point. Then the find. Find is a new thing, a assembled thing, an evolved thing, a developed thing, a end result, a executional point. That is what is called find. Please understand, finding is prerequisite for finding. If it remains same finding for some long time, it becomes a fact. And the whole research is defined as fact finding. Please understand. So find becomes fact, and when fact is practiced, applied, you get a abstract experience called truth. So first is find, next is a fact, then is truth. And truth, you are so convinced, so happy, because each stage of the truth you have experienced yourself is always enjoyable. Is always beautiful. Truth is beauty. Truth is God, they say, no? It is beauty. So truth is beauty. Then you embrace that particular truth forever, then it has become your religion. That is why it is doctor of philosophy. Start with your data point, ends up with your religion. That is why it is called PhD. Immaterial of your subject, you end up in practicing it forever, all your life, and convinced that you are doing a good thing, convinced that you are happy. That is what is the intent of all this research is about. So what did you find in research is what is actually result, because it is preliminary, because it is contextual, it is hot, because the experiment has just conducted, you got data, you toyed the data and you got some finding. So it is new. So that newness is there. That is why novelty is a prerequisite for research. So what should be included in result chapter? Only the findings. See, only I have put it in capitals. Don't ever, describe the finding here. Just put what you got, depict what you did, what you obtained. Data presented in tables, charts, graphs. These are all sadhanas. These are all presentable things. A sadhana or a device of a organization. Easy to understand for the person, and you are making the other juniors or your peers very happy, so that immediately they will understand, they get convinced. These tables, charts, graphs are depiction of devices of organization and also appreciation, figures, so that they understand it faster. Explanation of the data, it is how you got it, you are explaining, but you are not telling the intent or the finding explanation here. How did you obtain that data, you should explain. Meaning, and in the sentence form, you need to be very elaborate in telling that, right? So in data, you are not confusing them with your commentary. There is no commentary here. There is only ball to ball explanation, like cricket. Explanation is here, but no commentary. Data that corresponds to central research question. In other words, you are filtering here. Anything that is unrelated, you keep it, but you are not telling it. You are dividing and subdividing it, and pick up only that which is addressing what we have hypothesized in objectives. You see, objectives we have put up what we want to do, what we intend to do, right? So we are having that, we are not leaving that. Whatever that describes in the numeral form here, in the number form here, you are going to keep it. And then treat it with statistical tests and confirm that what you get later, and explain that in interpretation called discussion. So secondary findings also, secondary outcomes. Sometimes unexpected things come out. You have not envisaged it. You had just guessed what you got, what you want to get it, but some side spin-off benefits, spin-off things would have come. So that is where the story becomes more interesting. So secondary outcomes will be coming, some allied things will be coming, all those things you would be keeping it. Now results, that is findings, describes what you found in research without discussion, without interpretation, or you are not giving any review of literature here, because it is your design, research design, it is your own observation, it is 100% your own thing, your contribution here. You are not mixing with, or you are not in light of somebody else talking about it. It is exactly it's a little tough situation, difficult situation, because we try to compare. Immediately we try to compare. See, when you get the salary, you will never be satisfied, because it is a big satisfaction actually. You are always comparing with somebody else. When you compare with somebody else, you will always be sorry, right? But you don't compare with somebody else and you will be happy how you got that thousands of rupees. That is what is result. What you got, what is that description? How many, that laurel, what you strived for, right? Exactly. So that delineation should be always there, so that there will be full justice to the chapter called results. You are not mixing with any others, are not comparing with, because there is a scope for comparison in the next chapter called discussion, right? So you should be very guarded in describing results, depicting results, treating results, presenting results in the form of, so that people can understand and make out the findings. You are helping them to find the finding, right? That is what is the complete intention of results chapter, which is a very small chapter, very small. Work can be very huge, but results are always small, is it not? You see, when you heat about 1,000 liters of milk, you get only, say, for example, half a kilogram of the solid. because the solid is dispersed in 98 to 99% water. So when water is gone, what you get is the solid, which is actually the quality of the milk. That is always small quantity. So like that, results will not be bulky. It will not be lengthy. It will be always small. It is always small. Just the facts, what you found and what is relevant to the objectives or to the research question that we have proposed. The objective is to present a simple, clear and complete account of the results. Yeah. This is what is called results chapter. The next one is discussion. Should we continue or should I stop? What is the time now, please? Hello?
Sir, 10:48.
We have time up to 11, is it not? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Sir, please continue.
Continue? Wonderful. See, I can continue because there will be a kind of little link here, but it is little, it may take around 20 to 25 minutes from now to complete, have this discussion chapter covered. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please observe this picture. This picture gives you the spirit of what is called discussion. As I told you, the word discuss means what you have understood is not enough. What you have found is not enough. What your eyes have seen is not enough. What your experience you got by doing the experiment is not enough. But we will open it to others. We will show it to others. We will see, please understand, in this picture, there are many people, and in many people, you are also one individual. You are also one individual. This is the spirit of discussion. In discussion, we don't glorify ourselves. There is no scope for self-glorification in research, in discussion. There is no, though you are the author, people know that you have done, but you are not glorifying it. Because same people who have done the work, people who have got findings, discussion, experiments much before you, they have already laid out some findings. They have found out certain things. In the light of those findings, you will highlight. That is the spirit of discussion. In other words, it is a group activity. Discussion is always a group activity. It can never be monologue. It can never be individual here. So, you got your finding. Thread in a rope, but rope has many threads, right? So discussion is having that many threads, but at the same time, your contribution, your thread is also intertwined. You can see here, there are many groups of people. You see, somebody is talking, somebody are becoming intimate, they are introducing themselves, somebody are explaining the points, and somebody is listening to them. Somebody is very curious, somebody are closed in the sense they are doubtful, they want more explanation. Somebody are standing little away, somebody are standing proximity, somebody, all these situations are possible in discussion. Somebody can agree, somebody can disagree. The philosophy of discussion is agreement, disagreement, disagreeing to agree, agreeing to disagree. These are the situations in discussion. Because your point of, your perspective is good, fine, new, creative, wonderful. But at the same time, it is one among so many others people who have found out so many other things, right? So it has an explicit outstanding component and it has a diffusing component also. It is concentrated as far as your work is concerned, diluted as far as when it is clubbed with others' finding. Please understand. So it is a solution. There is a solute, there is salt, and there is water also, right? Nobody appreciates just water drinking, just salt eating. You salt as well as water. So that sugar as well as milk, you see, the components are getting mixed up and becoming a composite solution for everybody to appreciate and enjoy, right? That should be the experience when you describe your points in the light of work that has been done by somebody else, So the reviewing of literature, what we have done, that Excel comparative chart becomes a handy base, handy reference work, handy left-hand side stock for you to now prepare a new chapter called discussion. So in the light of others' work, what did you find? Did you agree with them? If you agree, how much? You don't agree, why you don't agree? If you agree lightly, slightly, how lightly, slightly? And why lightly, slightly? What is their mistake? What you found, they did not found. What they found and what you did not. These are all the central points in discussion. In other words, you are going to put flesh and blood to the skeleton results that you have got. Results is always skeleton, but you will make it live, you will make it palatable, you will make it presentable by adding on your interpretation and others' interpretation. You are not projecting more yourself and arguing that you did the right thing and they did the wrong thing. Even that is the fact, you are not doing it, but you are telling that this is the reason. So in other words, you take a role of a judge, and the judge also judges your own work. You will judge the others' work also and describe the experience in a very diplomatic, very palatable, unhurting, asserting sentences. Assertion is the best quality in discussion. Assertion means you are confident what you got, you know how to defend what you got, you are sure what you got, you have confirmed what you got, so you are confident, you are competent to tell to others what you got. That is what is the philosophy of discussion. This complete chapter talks about that particular discussion only. And how to write discussion, all those things we will try to go step by step. Okay. How to write an effective or interpret the findings, right? Discussion is considered as the heart of the paper because that is what is your creation. This is your creation is highlighted in the light of others. Your creation is highlighted in the ambit and contribution of, in other words, it's a galaxy where you are a star. Your star, you are shining, others are also shining. That is why it becomes a galaxy, right? It's a soothing thing. It's an appreciation thing. You have explicitness in the ocean of so many other stars, right? Purpose is to state your interpretation because that is your creativity, novelty, your way of looking at things because you have experienced it, and your experience is explicit and unique. Your opinion and others' opinions, explain the implication of your findings, and make suggestions for the future research. It is a spin-off benefit. That was not our intention, but it comes because once you say your glass is completely full, you will also be fair enough to admit there is some emptiness also, right? For others to fill or you yourself to continue making it full. Make the suggestions for future. And also you will talk about the limitations. You will also talk about your personal experience. You will also talk about kind of what is called the hitches that you got, glitches that you got, the hard things that you encountered, all those things. That is the reason why discussion will be the most longish chapter of the entire thesis. Discussion should be the maximal number of pages, and discussion should be the place where maximal citations are possible. Each sentence you write, your own, is corroborated with somebody else's contribution to that. That is how you write. So maximal citations in text citations are possible in discussion chapter. Discussion itself is a text, but in that text you will cite so many people's, and your contribution also is included in that. And discussion writing is most tough. It comes by practice, and there is a technique writing. If you use this technique, discussion is a cakewalk. The function of discussion is answer questions, results support that answers, fit the fit it with existing knowledge. Existing knowledge is others' contribution. So fit it with. So finally, it should flow. It should have a flow, right? The flow is homogeneous. The flow is enjoyable. Your contribution, others' contribution. That is the function of discussion. Not mere details about the results. In details, it's only mere depiction of the facts or findings. Here, there is a coloring, there is an interpretation, there is a commentary, right? There is a commentary of the work that has been, or the result that you have got out. Interpretation is the commentary. You're explaining the things, you're detailing the things, you're telling about unexpected results. These are all ingredients in discussion. You're giving references, copious references, you're explaining, and you're exemplifying. What is the difference between explanation and exemplification? Anybody? What is the difference between explanation and exemplification?
Sir, explanation is we talk about the matter, whether exemplification is we make it little bigger and then we talk.
No, simply explanation is description. Exemplification is giving examples. Examples always make the theme, make the core easier to understand. Exemplification means always explain with giving examples. You know, main story, side stories are always interesting, right? So make it interesting. Explanation, if you want to make it interesting, somebody else's contribution, somebody else's side story has to be incorporated. That is called exemplification. Explanation is yours, your finding, your detailing. Exemplification is detailing of somebody else's, which is close to you, even opposite to you, even disagreeing point with you, and you are telling it, I disagree because of this and this and this. That is called exemplification way of writing things. So unexpected results, references, explanation, exemplification are the characteristic things that you should, or the techniques that you should use in building up of discussion chapter. And finally, you will reiterate and you will deduce the hypothesis, that you will tell what you have predicted, that logical guesswork, how far you have reached it, how much it is true in a more concrete, more in evidential manner at this point in time. At that point in time, there was no evidence because you had not conducted experiment. Now you're in a better position. You have conducted this one, you have your own experience. So hypothesis becomes completely deduced. So that you become a kind of, you acquire a characteristic of an expert thing so that you can recommend. Because experience is thick now with you, you will be able to recommend. No more word suggestion here, it is the recommendation here, because you are quite experienced and you have spent a lot of time and you know what is what, so you become an expert and you can recommend things. And finally, the heart is commentary, not just the reiteration, repetition, or revision. You are giving a commentary. In the light of others' work, you are talking your work. Now, this is extremely important. I like this slide very, very much. Now, why? The reason is, many people, 99% of researchers, if they get an unexpected or something opposite what they have expected, they will try to hide, they will try to ignore, they will try to undermine, they will try to just keep it in the cold store. No, you should not do it. Because you see, even if you get the negative result, even if you get something unexpected, you are striking gold. It is at this point in time unexplainable, unexpected. But time is dynamic. Changes are always dynamic. What is true today can be totally different tomorrow, right? So there is a full scope for you to explain even negative results. And there are certain journals now available which will embrace only the negative results. You see, in engineering biology, BMC, it is British medical people, British journal, which is totally dedicated for negative results. They will catch the negative results. You know why? Because these results, it is like explicit problems that you are narrating, and these problems can be taken to solve by somebody else. If not, it is your in your scope, in your this one, it will definitely attract somebody else's. So never ever ignore the negative, unexpected, unconfirmed, controversial, provocative results that you have obtained. Don't do that. This is what our do. Especially in India, we feel very bad to tell that you are not successful. If you tell you are not successful, you are doing a service to yourself, because you are transparent and you are honest, and you admit that it was in your effort you failed, but you will open it to others to succeed. That is the spirit here. So never ever ignore, undermine negative results that you have got. Put it also in your thesis, put it also as a finding. I did not get this, and reason I do not know. That is the transparency that you should tell me. You should express yourself. So there are journals who take negative results also, especially in one biomedicine they have started, and it is kicking up very well. Many negative results are being stitched there. So what does it say? When the journals are telling, when the people are appreciating that getting negative results is very obvious, natural, it should be published. So this gives a, I should say, clarion call to all of you not to be shy away from getting negative results. It is possible that you can get negative results. Keep it for some time. If it is unexplainable, if it is explainable, then it has become a finding. If it is unexplainable at this point in time, it has its own value. So never ever ignore negative results in discussion. You will have to highlight that. You will have to tell that. Begin by briefly summarizing how to write now, summarizing the previous chapters. Best way to start off with the hypothesis statement. Hypothesis explanation should be the starting statement in the discussion chapter. In the discussion chapter, the introduction is hypothesis explanation. Provide meaningful answers, interpret objectively and subjectively, because you've got your own strand, your own finding here now. Give citations. Every conclusion has got to be very defensible. You have to defend. This section addresses the meaning of your findings, and in some cases your results are in direction what you predicted. This meaning was anticipated when the study was designed, but never get deterred if it is not anticipated. That has a scope in explanation in discussion chapter. In cases where the results are not all in the desired direction, researchers must explain why this was not the case, the reason for the case, because for all we know, you may be correct. The person who has published an article before you may be wrong. That is a possibility. So don't ignore your strange or unique finding. The other person could be equally wrong or equally correct. You may be wrong or you may be correct. All possibilities are there in this. So address sampling, address measurement, address all those things come, tangentially. You will be talking about the sampling procedure, the pros and cons involved there, the limitations involved there. All those things get covered up in discussion chapter. We will also tell confounding variables, hidden variables, which can have a direct, indirect role on your outcome. So there are certain steps. This is the technique to write the chapter now. Organize the discussion either to specific and general. General is translatable, like, or extrapolatable things at the last. Specific things in the beginning. Hypothesis would be a good start. Explain how your results relate to expectations, what you expect and what you got, why they are acceptable, reasons, attribution, why they are consistent. In other words, why they are having credence or valid. Address all the results. Never ever leave anything. No finding can be unattended. They have got to be explained. Describe in a sequential form major things in the beginning. First state the answer, then give the supporting things for that answer, then cite the answer or cite the person who has helped you and also your contribution. So that should be the sequence of citation. Defend your answers by explaining both ways, pros and cons, right? Only by giving both sides, the argument becomes discussion. Or else it remains only argument. Never ever self-glorify. Keep on insisting what you found was correct, what others found was wrong. That is not a good way of discussion, because you are glorifying yourself or putting down somebody else. So no, assertion is the best thing. Assertion is telling what you found was correct, but not hurting others, not hurting others' sentiments. That is called assertion. 7, discuss and evaluate conflicting explanations. Take time, do some small research why it is conflicting at this point in time. Could be solved later, need not be solved later. Tell the status. This is a good sign of discussion. Never, argue, never project, never go in one direction. Consider every direction. Discuss unexpected findings, because they could be the starting point for somebody else, your junior. They could be the gaps. They could be the topics for investigation later on when technology comes up. They could also be cracked. When discussing an unexpected finding, begin the paragraph with the finding that you have got, so that it becomes the introduction, and then describe it. Tell about limitations. You are now confident that this is the weakness, this is the limitation, this is what I could do finally. You see, the philosophy of research is explaining more and more on a topic which is focused. So, is narrow topic, but explanation. The other way also is possible. A complete explanation and coming to a point, both ways are possible in discussion. Limitations are extremely important to decipher, tell, because others need not do that mistake. Summarize, and conciseness is important. Concise means brief but specific, to the point, to your context. Explain implication and importance. Provide recommendations. Recommendations should not be pages and pages, because you are sure that it can be recommended, but not many, because they can always be, you yourself may not be sure tomorrow or after some 6 months, after 5 years, you may not be sure. So give as many less recommendations as possible. That is not the aim of your work. Recommendation is not the aim of your work. You are not a consultant. You are a scholar, humble student now, right? So consultants give recommendation. When you have published about 100 to 150 articles in this particular area, then you will be possibly an expert consultant, when you will be invited for recommendations, right? So that experience is important. So these are the technique of writing the discussion chapter. Do's and don'ts, I have just told you. Provide the context and explain why people should care. Don't simply repeat what you have found, right? In discussion, commentary should be given. That should be the core, but the cladding or the coverage or the dress should be somebody you can derive from somebody else's also. So don't simply rehash your results. Don't simply reiterate your results. Tell that results in an explanatory note in the light of others' work. Emphasize positive. Never ignore. Never exaggerate. No exaggeration. No exaggeration. Many people do this mistake. Indians do this mistake more. In my research, there is nothing your research. Your contribution would be very small. So there is nothing me there. There are so many things that have helped you to get there, right? So that should not be there. Self-glorification is not warranted. At the same time, assertion is welcome. What you got when you are confident becomes assertion. Look forward to the future, but don't end with it, because it's a lifelong learning process. When I talk about profession, professionalism, and professional ethics later on, you will understand why we should not end with our work. You yourself should never end up with your work, because practitioner always practices till the last breath. And researcher is not just today, you are researcher forever. Not forever means what? Not only end of your life, because you have prepared other people. Some students have come to you. They have prepared some other students. So it is eternal. It is eternal. So that is the where the philosophy comes. And I will stop at this. In the next session, we will have a small discussion on summary, conclusion, recommendation. Then we move on to what is called ethics in research, and move on to talk about how to cite, how to write acknowledgement, how to what is the citation styles, all those things. I think we will discuss a little later on. I think three more sessions are enough for me. We should be concluding with the next 3 to 4 sessions maximum. I will stop at this today. We will meet again on the notified next week, possibly notified date. And thank you for your patient listening. Should you have some doubts on results discussion, you can always, material methods, you can always either correspond with me or ask if you have time. I will be able to, help you.
Sir,
Sir, I have a small doubt.
Yes, madam.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yes,
Now
madam.
you said like in when we do it in for science, like we have to tell that how much material, what type of containers we have used, and all that we have to explain in detail.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to commerce and management, how do we do that, sir?
Your sample is human beings, madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you will explain human beings.
Okay. Okay.
Now let me just tell you.
Yeah.
How do you explain a teacher, madam? Teacher is a sampler. Say, for example, you have gone to a middle school and your sample is a middle school teacher. Now you explain, madam. That is the material. Explain. Material is a middle school teacher.
Okay, sir.
Now explain now.
How that teacher approaches the students?
No. How you have selected the teacher? That is the
How I
explanation.
selected that teacher. Okay.
Ah,
So,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
Is
now let me try, sir. I am not good at that.
It's easy,
So-
madam. It's easy. Don't worry. See,
Okay.
in the beginning, it looks very difficult, but it is easy. Now you will solve this problem.
So now I want to study now, for example, how the teacher is. So
Yes.
I will say why I chose this particular teacher.
Hmm.
So I want to say like how this teacher will teach in the class. So I will speak about her qualification, her way of teaching, and why it is important for me that I should study about her contribution to the students in the classroom. I think that
Hello. Where are you going? See, what we are talking is sample and sampling.
okay, sir.
We are not going what she is teaching, what is she supposed to teach. That is a totally different aspect.
Okay, sir.
What I am trying to tell you is a middle school teacher has to be sampled, right? In material
Yes.
is sampling. I told you, no?
Yes, sir.
Now, middle school teacher sampling means, let me just give you, because it is for the first time, it is difficult for you to conceive, but then it becomes easier later. Now, middle school teacher, I have to select. Now, the first question is, how many number? Because
Yes.
it depends on the number of investigations, is it not? Number becomes
Yes, sir.
critical.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it? That is the first. Next becomes the gender. See, middle school teachers can be males and can be female, is it not?
Yes, sir.
The
Yes, sir.
gender. Then how many middle schools? So, for example, is it Bangalore? Is it India? Is it world?
Okay.
Which middle school?
Yes, sir.
Middle
Yes,
school
sir.
means what is the definition? Is it
Yes,
from
sir.
4th to 8th?
Yes,
First to
yes.
6th? All these things become the explanation for sampling, madam.
Yes, sir. Now I understood, sir.
Yeah.
Now
Don't
I-
confuse with what teacher is always teaching only. We need not worry about that,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right? So
Yes, sir.
what we are these details you will be telling. So what I do, if you ask me, a middle school teacher, I will go about this. I take South Bangalore, go to the education department, collect the list of private and government schools coming in the jurisdiction. Then I will further reduce because the number is more, thousands. Number is more. I want only 50 middle school teachers. I will not go, but I will always represent the South Bangalore. South Bangalore is, I take a map, I delineate the wards, and in each wards, how many schools are there, I get the list from the education department. Now I know these many, say, there were 600 private and 70 or 100 government schools. So 600 on one side, 100 on other side, but middle school teacher for me, both are same. So I will take a proportion, 5% proportion in private, 5% in government. Right, ma'am? Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. I'm understanding.
So I will go, I describe like this, and then
yes, sir.
Take a list of all the people, males, teachers, female teachers. Then I will make a age distribution, experience distribution, because all middle school teachers, a middle school teacher could be 18 years, could be also 60 years, is it not?
Yes, sir.
So what sample I should take? So this is what is the explanation I do in procedure sampling.
Yes, sir. Now I understood, sir.
Exactly, madam. Exactly.
Okay, sir.
It's all very simple, madam.
Yeah.
Never ever, good that you asked the question, and it becomes so clear when there is a case taken. This is called exemplification. Take an example and explain.
Yes,
So
sir.
that
Thank
concept
you, sir.
becomes very clear. Concept.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very
Sir.
much. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Sir, when we are presenting results,
Yes.
do we just put all the results in tables, charts, or do we also put a small note at the end of each of them so that we can tell the reader which part of the result to look at, sir? Do we also emphasize that, or is it
Wonderful.
just?
Wonderful question. You are talking about depiction of the results, right?
Yes, sir.
See, there are many ways. When I give you that book Doing Science, you will understand. See, table means need not be always numerals. You can
Okay.
also put keywords in the X and Y houses in the table, right? Tables can be explanatory also. Tables could be having end note also. Tables could be having short note, footnote also. So there are types of tables, sir. When you read that, it becomes very obvious. Immediately you will get, even sentences can be stuffed in tabular way. Organization, that is possible. That is possible. Depiction is a different science. In fact, that Doing Science itself is, I have made about 10 courses in that Doing Science book itself.
Okay, sir.
How to construct a wordy table, where footnotes are important, where the side explanation is important, where legend becomes relevant, where highlighting the numeral only the top y-axis becomes, that is headings become difficult, become significant. There is a big science in that depiction. That is why always condensed and presented in a particular scientific manner. That itself is a big area. But if you read through that Doing Science book I am going to give you, all your questions become very simple. You can pick and choose whichever you like, and whichever that is apt and correct, and use that particular format in stitching your results.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and meet you again in the next session. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.